Hi everybody, this is Bonnie Barker with Bonnie Bay Crochet, and today I want to show you my Sapphire Soliloguy scarf. This is a scarf that will feature a new cabling style, and you'll see that up close in just a few minutes. And I'm using a special gradient set of yarns. Now, if you don't have these yarns available, I will have information in the video description where you can purchase them if you like. However, that said, I want you to feel free to use what you have in your stash. As always, it takes approximately 1,100 to 1,200 yards of a fingering weight yarn as shown here. Now, if you wanted to make this into a super scarf using a number 4 or a worsted weight yarn, I want you to feel free to do that. And if you even want to make this into a stash buster with yarns that complement each other in your stash already, again, feel free to do that. The only thing that I recommend is that you size your crochet hooks according to the type of yarn that you're going to be using. Well, let me go ahead and show you what you're going to need. For this project, I'm going to be using this collection of gradient yarns, and I'll show you who produced this. It's by a company called Frogget Yarns, and this has a total of 1,155 yards. This is a fingering weight yarn. Now let me just say that if you don't have this, it's quite all right. And if you have maybe other gradients you'd like to try, that would be fine. Or you could just simply use solid color yarns. I would recommend at least around 1,100 to 1,200 yards. That usually means about 3 hanks of another type of yarn in a solid color. Or another option you could use is if you have a lot of fingering weight yarn left over in your stash, you can just use this to order the colors that you think would look nice together, and then just go with that. I just like to encourage people to use what you can find locally or shop from your stash as much as possible. I'm also recommending that you have a size G or 6 or 4.00 millimeter crochet hook and a yarn needle and a pair of sharp scissors handy. I'm going to be starting with the darkest of the yarn and just work my way through that gradually. I'm going to start with a slip knot and the starting chain of 66 chains. After completing that starting chain of 66 chains, we're going to work double crochets for row 1. So starting in the 4th chain from the hook, we're going to work a double crochet into that chain and each chain across. You should have a total of 63 chains, or I'm sorry, 63 double crochets once you complete this row. So after completing those 63 stitches, that's not including the chain 3 at the beginning, we're going to turn and we're going to work a 2-stitch basket weave. So we're going to chain 2, we're going to skip the first stitch, we're going to front post double crochet in the next 2, and then we'll follow that with back post double crochets over the next 2 stitches, and we're going to alternate that all the way across. Front post double crochets in the next 2 stitches, followed by back post double crochets in the next 2. The end of row 2 ends by working 2 front post double crochets, and then we're going to work a half double crochet into the turning chain. Okay, so now we're going to turn chain 2, this is for row 3, and we are going to reverse the direction of the basket weave for this row, and we're going to do this every 2 rows. Skip that first stitch. We see back post double crochets in front of us. So we're going to work front post double crochets over that to reverse the weave. The next 2 stitches we see front post, so we're going to work back post double crochets. Even though this is the same as what we worked to begin row 2 with 2 front posts, I just wanted to be clear that we are doing this, and it is reversing the weave, like I said before. And then 2 front post double crochets, followed by 2 back post double crochet. So again, we're just still alternating 2 front posts, 2 back posts all the way across, but just wanted to show you that it is changing the direction of the weave at this point. So go ahead and work those all the way across, and when you get to the end, we're going to work a half double crochet in the turning chain, just the way we did at the end of row 2. Row 3 ends with 2 front post double crochets and a half double worked into that turning chain. Now for row number 4, chain 2, and for row 4 we're going to maintain what we see. So we see 2 front posts here, so we'll work front post. Here we have 2 back post double crochets, so we are going to just stay with that and maintain what we see. Now go ahead and work this with you. Skip that first stitch. We've chained 2. We're going to work 2 back post double crochets, and followed by 2 front post double crochets. So go ahead and work that all the way across the row, and we will end again with a half double worked into the turning chain. This is what you should have after completing 4 rows. Now for row number 5, we can look at this until once we've completed 2 rows, and you can feel these 2 rows with your fingers there. Once we've completed those, it's time to switch the weave again. So we're going to chain 2, skip that first half double crochet, and we see front post, so we know it's time to work back post. So we're going to start row 5 with 2 back post double crochets, followed by 2 front post, and that's what we're going to work all the way across the row. And again, ending the row with a half double crochet in the turning chain. So go ahead and finish row number 5. This is what you should have at the end of 5 rows. Now for row 6, we are going to maintain what we see as far as the weave, the ribbed stitches go. We're going to chain 2, and we see 2 front posts, so we will continue with that. Skip that first stitch, which is that half double, and 2 front post double crochets, followed by 2 back post double crochets. So work that all the way across. 2 front post, 2 back post, and then again half double in the turning chain. Now for row 7, it's time for us to change the direction of these front and back post stitches again. So we're going to chain 2, skip the first stitch, and we see 2 back post stitches there, so we're going to work 2 front post stitches to begin the row. This is row number 7, and then 2 back post double crochets. So go ahead and alternate 2 front post and 2 back post all the way across. Again, you will end the row with 2 front post double crochets, and don't forget the half double worked into the turning chain. You can see just how lovely this is developing. For row number 8, we're just going to continue the weave in the direction that we see it once we've turned. So we chain 2, skip that first stitch, and we start with 2 back post double crochets followed by 2 front post. Let's try that one again. 2 front post double crochets. So go ahead and work that all the way across. You will end with 2 back post double crochets and a half double worked into the turning chain. For row 9, it's time to change the weave again. We're going to chain 2, skip the first stitch, and we're going to work 2 back post double crochets. And we're going to follow that with 2 front post double crochets. So go ahead and work that all the way across. This row will end with 2 back post double crochets and then work the half double into the turning chain. This is what you should have after completing 9 rows. Now what we're going to do is we are going to continue the basket weave, the 2-stitch basket weave, but only on the sides of the scarf. And we're going to do that in increments of 10. So we're going to chain 2, and we're just going to continue with what we have, just like we've been doing. I know you can, read the pattern line by line, but if you're comfortable enough to just go by sight, that might be better. Okay, you can just count 2 stitches whenever you see 2 rows of the basket weave, then you know it's time to move on. That is to change the weave. Okay, so we only have 1 row here, so we're just going to continue this. So this will be row 10. We start with a chain 2, and we're going to skip that first stitch, and we're just going to work over the first 10 stitches, or the next 10 stitches rather. 2 front post double crochets followed by 2 back post double crochets, and that's 4 stitches, and then 2 more front post double crochets, and then 2 more back post double crochets, and this is going to bring our total to 8 stitches. And so we're going to work just 2 more front post double crochets. Okay, so this is what you should have to start row 10. 2 front post, 2 back post, 2 front post, 2 back post, and 2 front post. Now the very next stitch is here, and we're going to work into the top loops. We're going to work what I like to call the waddle stitch. That's W-A-T-T-L-E stitch. And this is made up of 3 fundamental crochet stitches. So that would be a single crochet, a chain 1, and a double crochet worked all into the same space. And then we're going to skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, and then we're going to do it again. Single crochet, chain 1, and double crochet, and skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, and we're going to do it one more time. Single crochet, chain 1, double crochet. So now we have 1, 2, 3 waddle stitches. These are going to be spacer stitches that are going to help the cables that we make to really shine, to really pop, and so we feature the texture. Okay, so we also skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, after that waddle stitch. So skip those 2. In the next 4 stitches, we're going to work front post double crochets. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And so what we are working now are the foundations for these cables. The next stitch, we're going to work into the top loops, and we just work a half double crochet. And then we're going to work 4 more front post double crochets. Just like that. So let's pause again. So after we completed the basket weave, those 10 stitches, we have 3 waddle stitches, and then we have We also skip 2 stitches after that last waddle stitch, just the way we've been doing. 4 front post double crochets, a half double worked into the top loops, and then 4 front post double crochets. Now we're going to make 2 more waddle stitches. So starting in that next stitch, which is right here, we work a single crochet, chain 1, double crochet for that waddle stitch, skip 2 stitches, and then do it one more time. Single crochet, chain 1, double crochet. And then we're going to again skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, and then in the next stitch, which is here, we're going to work a front post double crochet, and again we're going to work 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, we're going to work a half double worked into the top loops of that next stitch, and then another 4 front post double crochets. Okay, now we're going to work 3 more waddle stitches, again starting in that next stitch. Single crochet, chain 1, double crochet, skip 2 stitches, and then another waddle stitch, skip 2, 1, 2, and then the third, and then skip 2, 1, 2. And now we return to the basket weave for the last 10 stitches of this row. So hopefully the numbers mathematically have worked out for you as we do this. So 2 front post, 2 back post double crochets, 2 front post again, 2 more back post double crochets, 2 more front post, and a half double crochet worked into the turning chain. All right, so now that is our foundation row. So we're going to turn for row number 11, chain 2, and again we are continuing with the basket weave, just continuing to change the direction after 2 rows. So it's time to change it again. Skip that first stitch, and just working over those first 10 stitches, we're going to work 2 front post double crochets, 2 back post, 2 front post, and 2 back post, and 2 more front post. Okay, so now we're going to be working into the waddle stitches. So the skipping of the 2 stitches, etc., is only on the foundation row that we worked for row 10. So going forward from this point until we work the rows to discontinue the waddle stitch, which won't be until the very end, we are only going to work in the chain 1 space of each of these waddle stitches, and we work a waddle stitch, single crochet, chain 1, and that double crochet. Go to the next chain 1 space, single crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and into the next space. When you come to the cables, we're just going to work 4 back post double crochets, 1 over each of those post stitches. And when you come to the half double crochet, just work into the top loops of those half double crochets. And these half doubles, by the way, do act as spacers in between these columns, and they help to give further definition to these cables. And again, 4 more back post double crochets. And we follow that with 2 more waddle stitches. Again, worked only in the chain 1 space, single crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and in the next chain 1 space. And just like we did before, we're going to work 4 back post double crochets, followed by that half double and 4 more back post double crochets. And this is a symmetrical design, just like we started. We're going to end with 3 waddle stitches, again worked into that chain 1 space. And I must say I'm really enjoying the variance in the color of this beautiful hand-dyed yarn. The feel of it is also very, very nice. Okay, we've come to the basket weave again, and again we need to reverse the direction. So we're going to work 2 front post double crochets, followed by 2 back post, 2 front post, and 2 more back post, and it ends with 2 front post double crochets, followed by that half double worked into the turning chain. So this is the back side, and you can see the front side. Now let's take a look at this for row number 12. We are going to continue building the columns, or the foundation columns, for our cables. But we are going to cross a cable here and here. We are going to be crossing this column and this column by doing a 4-post cable. So to begin row 12, we're going to start with a chain 2, and we want to continue what we see. So we're going to work 2 back post double crochets, followed by 2 front post double crochets, and we're going to work over these 5 sets, or these first 10 stitches. So I'll go ahead and finish these, and I'll work the 3 waddle stitches, and then I will show you what I want you to do with the cabling. So now that we get to the cables, we're going to work front post double crochets in each of the next 4 stitches, half double in the next half double. Now the next set of 4 columns, which would be the left side of the first cable, we're going to make that into a 4-post cable. So we're going to wrap our hooks twice, or for a front post treble. We're going to skip the first 2 stitches, front post treble crochet in each of those next 2 stitches. Now working in front of those last 2 stitches, we're going to front post treble crochet in the first stitch that we skipped, and then in the second stitch that we skipped. Come all the way over here and front post treble and front post treble.
Okay, and now we work those waddle stitches again, one in each of those next 2 waddle stitches. In the next cable, we're going to do the opposite of what we just did. We're going to cross the right side of the cable with the 4-post cable. So we're going to skip the next 2 stitches, front post treble in the next 2 stitches, working in front of those 2 stitches, front post treble in the 2 stitches that we just skipped. Half double in the next half double, and then front post double crochet. Okay, so make sure that we worked front post trebles when we cross the cables, but at the other times we're working front post double crochets as we form these cables. Okay, so I'm trying to be very careful how I speak on these. Occasionally, I do make mistakes just like everybody else, but let's go ahead and stop. I will try to be as careful as I can. All right, so with these 2 cables that are in the center of the scarf, you had 4 front post double crochets, half double, and then we crossed these 2 cables with front post treble crochets, 2 waddle stitches. And then on the other side, we started by crossing these stitches with front post treble crochets, half double, and then 4 more front post double crochets. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to talk you through the ending of this row. 3 wattle stitches, and then we start with 2 back post, 2 front post, 2 back post, 2 front post, 2 back post, and the half double in that turning chain. So go ahead and finish row number 12. Now for row 13, it's actually a repeat of row number 11. So let me talk you through this. We're going to work a chain 2. We're going to work 2 back post to start the basket weave, 2 back posts, 2 front posts, etc. over those 10 stitches, 3 waddle stitches. Then we're going to work 4 back post double crochets, a half double, and then 4 back post double crochets, just in the order that you see. And if you're not sure which one to do next, you can look at the tops and just follow the V's on top. So in this order, 1, 2, then you may need to wrap your hook around. I'll actually show you the first one so that you understand that. So as you're working over the cables that were crossed during the last row, so we work 4 back post double crochets, 1, here's the second one, 2, and 3, and 4. Okay, so go ahead and complete the rest of this. We have 2 waddle stitches, again 4 more back post, 1, 2, 3, 4 double crochets, half double, 4 back posts, doubles, 3 waddle stitches, and then when you get to the basket weave, you're going to work 2 back posts to begin this section, 2 back posts, 2 front posts, etc., and the half double at the end. For row 14, we're going to chain 2, and we're going to continue with what we see. So we're going to work 2 front posts. Of course, we're skipping that first stitch. That's going to be now and throughout, in case I forget to say that. So 2 front posts followed by 2 back posts, etc. So go ahead and finish those first 10 stitches, or first 10 basket weave and the 3 waddle stitches, and then I'll show you what we're going to do next with these cables, because it is going to be time to cross the columns for the first time. So now we're going to cross these for the first time, and let me show you how to do this. We're going to skip the next 4 stitches. We're going to work a double crochet in the middle of this stitch, and then we're going to work 4 front post trebles. Let me just speak about the double crochet for a second. The reason we're using the double crochet is because we are stretched quite a bit from the waddle stitch until this half double, and we're skipping 4 stitches. So it's just to give us a little more room. So now we're going to wrap our hook for treble crochets, and we're just going to front post treble 1 in each of the next 4 stitches. After working those 4 front post treble crochets, now we are going to cross in front of the last 5 stitches. That would be the double crochet and these 4 front post trebles, and we're going to come all the way over here, and we're going to work our front post trebles in this order: 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so all the way in front. It's going to feel like a large distance, hence the use of that double crochet instead of the half doubles just in the spacer. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, and 4. So again, using those front post trebles to cross the cables, and we're going to work waddle stitches in each of the next 2 stitches, next 2 waddle stitches, that is. Now we're going to cross these cables. Oh, let me clarify one thing too, that this is what I like to call a front cross, because the second set of stitches crosses in front of the cables. And if you look at the stitched diagram, you'll see these cables, the last 4 that were worked, they should be in red, so that that's an indicator that these are the ones that appear on top. Okay, so now we're going to cross this cable also with a front cross, but it's going to look a little different because the 4-post cable is on this side. So we're going to do it a little bit differently. I hope to take this very slow so that it will be understood. All right, so we're going to skip the next 4 stitches. We're going to work a double crochet in that half double. We're going to work front post trebles in each of the next 4 stitches. So far everything is the same. And that 4th stitch. Now when we cross in front of these 5 stitches to cross these stitches over here on the 4-post cable, since this cable is going to appear on front, we want to continue the 4-post cable crossing. Okay, so the way we do that is we're going to wrap our hook for that front post treble. We're going to skip these 2 stitches, and we're going to first crochet front post trebles in the 2nd and the 3rd stitch that was skipped. And you guessed it, after that we're going to work in front of those last 2 stitches, and we're going to come all the way over here and work front post trebles in those 2 stitches that we just skipped. And this is what makes this an intermediate to an advanced level design, is there's a lot going on here. Okay, now we're going to work our waddle stitches. I'm going to work 3 of those, and again we're going to work 2 front posts, 2 back posts, front post, back post, etc. to finish the row. But let's just take a look at what we have with those crossed cables. Now this will be better defined going forward once we establish these cables in more elongated format. Okay, so let's go ahead and finish that, and then I will work the basket weave, and when we turn it'll be time to switch the direction again. So we will start with front post going the other way with those 10 stitches and work those 3 waddle stitches, and then I will pick it up with where the cables are worked, because that's really the bulk of where the instruction will be focused from this point forward. So now we are on row 15. I've gone ahead and worked the preliminary stitches that we've been working all along. And it's time to find the orders. Now let me show you what you can do. Just like I said before, the order of the stitches in which they appear using the little V's. If you can see that, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this. We're working back post double crochets just in the order that they come. So 1, 2, and now this could be a little bit tricky. 3, do you see how I've pulled this apart a little bit? 3 and 4. So this is the back side of that 4-post cable. Now, let's go ahead and do that 4th one again, since it got away from me. So after working those first set of 4 stitches, let's go ahead and let's just look at the front. It should look like this on the front side, so you see that I did 4. Again, we're doing back post double crochet. So now in between that last stitch and the next stitch, because the next series of 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now this is the double crochet. We're not going to pay attention to this, but the 4 stitches here, we're going to work a half double crochet right in the center there. And for you mathematicians, it all works out mathematically because we are going to skip the stitch here, so it all works out. So the next 4 stitches, we work 4 back post double crochets, and again skipping this stitch, and then we go right into those 2 waddle stitches, single crochet, chain 1, double crochet worked into the chain 1 space. And now we're going to work across the next cable, which will be a little bit easier because we didn't cross the 4-post cable. And let me talk about that a minute. And you may be wondering, why am I doing it differently? Why didn't we cross it behind here? Simply because if we had, nobody's going to see it because it's being covered up by this column here. And it just makes it easier to work when we don't cross that one. So we're going to work 4 back post double crochets, and then we're going to work a half double in between that last stitch and next stitch. You should be able to work your finger in there because that's where the 2 columns crossed. And then we have 4 more back post double crochets. It's 2, 3, and 4. Again, we've added another half double, but we are skipping the stitch, thereby keeping the stitch count constant. All right, so let's go ahead and do the waddle stitches. So you know how to do those by now, 3 waddle stitches, and then again we're reversing the direction, so we're going to work 2 front post, 2 back post, 2 front posts, etc. to finish the row. So go ahead and do that. And for row 16, go ahead and work the basket weave stitches and the 3 waddle stitches. So now we're at row 16, and I've gone ahead and worked the basket weave, starting with 2 back post double crochets to begin the row, and then the 3 waddle stitches. Now it's time to cross the cables of the column on the right for the first cable. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to skip the next 2 stitches, and we're going to front post treble in the next 2 stitches. Working in front of those 2 stitches, front post treble in the 2 stitches that were skipped. we're going to half double crochet in the half double. That was the same one that was worked in between the cables during the previous row. And now for the next 4, we just work 4 front post double crochets. Okay, let's pause and talk about this for just a minute. Okay, because this is the part of the cable that will be a continual 4-post cable. Remember, then we cross these without crossing them because it's hidden under these stitches. But now that they've come back up, we're going to cross them every time the front side is facing. Okay, and then, you know, just to shake things up, of course, it's different on the other side, and I will work that with you. So let's work those 2 waddle stitches. And now we have the column here that's coming up that is not crossed. So we just work 4 front post double crochets. There we go. My hook caught a loop that it shouldn't have there. Half double worked into the top loops of that next half double. And then you have the other cable that is crossing, so we're going to skip the next 2 stitches. We're going to front post treble crochet. This is the bigger stitch in each of the next 2 stitches. Remember, whenever you're crossing cables, we're using trebles, but all the other times we're using front post doubles. Working in front of those 2 stitches, we front post treble in this stitch and then this stitch. And follow that again with our waddle stitches. And let's just talk through the rest of it. We have 2 more of those. And then we're going to work 2 back post, 2 front post, 2 back post, etc. And a half double into the turning chain. So let's take a look at these cables. All right, so go ahead and finish this row, and then we're going to turn and begin the next row working through the basket weave and the waddle stitches, and then I will show you how to work the rest of the row. Now, when working across the cables, we're just going to do what we did 2 rows previous. We're going to work 4 back post double crochets, and just wanted to give you another view of this. So those first 2, and then the other 2 are, you know, crossed behind them, so don't forget those. A half double in that half double, and then 4 more back post double crochets. And let's work those 2 waddle stitches. You should be very familiar with these by now, as well as the basket weave. And if not, you can always refer to the written pattern. I will have that available. The information will be on my website, as well as in both my Etsy and my Lovecrafts store. Okay, so the next cable, 4 back post double crochets, a half double worked into the half double, and then 4 more back post double crochets, again worked just in the order, in case you have any concern or question, just in the order that the V's on top of these stitches appear. And here are the 2 that are hiding behind. Okay, so I'm going to finish this row with my 3 waddle stitches, and again reversing this, starting with 2 back post, 2 front post, etc., half double in the turning chain, and then go ahead and do the stitches once we turn. Go ahead and you're going to be working 2 front post double crochets to start the next row, and those 3 waddle stitches, and then I will show you what we're going to do for the next several rows actually. So now for row 18, we come to the cables, and we're going to, again, with the front side facing, it's time to cross this 4-post cable, which is one side of the large cable again, half double, 4 front post doubles, 2 waddle stitches, and again 4 front post doubles, half double, and again over here we're going to cross this 4-post cable with front post trebles, and then you know how to do the waddle stitches, and again we're maintaining, just work front post doubles, back post, etc. Let me go ahead and show you the beginning of this row. It also begins with 2 front post double crochets. So go ahead and work row 18. Row 19 is going to be just like row 17, where you work the ribbed basket weave, the waddle stitches, and then you're just going to work back post double crochets across these cable post stitches, and of course the half doubles where we've been working, and you know the waddle stitches. So go ahead and repeat rows 16 and 17, which again are the same as 18 and 19. So if you need to know where row 16 begins, if you need just another visual refresher, look across the bottom of the screen. I will put a little notation there, a time mark as to when row 16 begins, so you can re-watch that for rows 18 and 19. So this is what you should have after completing 19 rows. Now for rows 20, 21, 22, and 23, we are going to work those same 2 rows, repeating rows 16 and 17 again. So visually what you're going to be doing is just continuing on with the basket weave. Make sure that you change the direction of the weave every 2 rows. And we're just going to continue working the 4-post cable on this side of the elongated cable and on this side of the elongated cable, and everything else just the same. Half doubles where the half doubles are, waddle stitches where the waddle stitches are. So go ahead and work the next 4 rows. That would be rows 20 through 23. So this is what you should have after completing 23 rows. Now for row 24, we are going to cross the large columns again, similarly to what we did here, but it's going to be in reverse. In other words, the way we crossed this cable, we're going to cross it up here, and the way we crossed this cable, we're going to use that same technique up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through these again a little faster as far as the number of rows. So we're going to cross this cable, and then we are going to just continue to elongate these cables, but the crossed 4-post cable is going to be on the inside, just the way it was when we started. And well, let's just go ahead and start with row 24. So go ahead and begin with the 2 back post double crochets, 2 front post, back post, and work those 3 waddle stitches, and then I will show you the crossing of both of these cables. All right, so after working those preliminary stitches, let's go ahead and cross these cables. So I'm going to return to using a double crochet. Well, first of all, we're going to skip the next 4 stitches. Then I'm going to work a double crochet into that half double, front post treble crochet in each of the next 4 stitches. Remember, we're working with front post trebles only when we cross the cables. And just like we did before when we cross with this 4-post cable being on top. So this is going to be on crossing on front. So we're going to want to continue to cross that 4-post cable. We do that by skipping the first 2 stitches of the stitches that we've already skipped once. And then we front post treble in that 3rd and 4th stitch. Working in front of those 2 stitches, we front post treble in the 1st and 2nd stitch that was skipped. Okay. So that cable has been crossed. Let's go ahead over to these waddle stitches. It'll help it to be more defined once we do these. Okay, so you see how that looks. Let's take a look at the whole thing. And for the next stitch, we're going to, or the next cable, large cable, we're going to skip the next 4 stitches, a double crochet. Let me try that again. A double crochet worked into the top loops of that half double. And then we're just going to work 4 front post trebles just straight across. We're not going to worry about crossing these again because this column is going to cross on top and it wouldn't be seen either way. So we're going to do the simpler thing. Okay, after working those 4 stitches and that double crochet, working in front of those 5 stitches, again the 4 plus the 1 here, we're going to work front post trebles here, 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 and here, starting with the first stitch that was skipped. And 2 and 3 and the last one. And again, work those waddle stitches, those 3 of them, and then again 2 back posts, 2 front posts alternating, and the half double worked. I can find it, there we go, into that turning chain. So go ahead and complete row 24. After that, I will go ahead and start row 25 with the post stitches and the waddle stitches, and then I will show you what it looks like again to work on the back side after the cable crossing, just as a review. So complete row 24 and then start row 25. Now for row 25, I've worked the basket weave, and just for clarity, I did start with 2 back post double crochets to begin this row, and then I worked the waddle stitches. Now working the cables, we're just going to work them as they appear. So 4 back post double crochets. And again, if you're not sure which one to do next, you can look at the V's at the top, or you can even flip this around to look at the front side facing to see where the stitches are. Okay. After those 4 back post double crochets, we're going to put a half double in between that last stitch and next stitch that's in the center where the cable was crossed, and then 4 more back post double crochets. And again, just for clarity, this was the stitch that the double crochet, and we're going to skip that. So by adding in the half double and by skipping this stitch, we mathematically maintain the same stitch count. And then let's go ahead and do these waddle stitches. And then let me show you how to work over the back side of this other cable, which is the one that had the 4-post cable crossing, and we're going to start with that. So we see 1, 2, and then 3, 4 here. Again, follow the V's. There's one here, one here, one here, and one here. And then if you follow those V's, you see the stitches that are attached. Okay, so let's go ahead and do these. This is probably the trickiest part of the row that follows the cable crossings. Okay, so that's 2. And make sure you have 4, 3, and one more, 4. Now after that, that's when it's time for that half double crochet, and you can see just how clearly when you pull these apart just a little bit, gently of course, you can see the center, and then we see the 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches, which are the post stitches, and then that double crochet that we're going to skip. Okay, so 1, 2, let's try that one again. Sometimes they just get away from me. 3 and 4. We're skipping that double crochet, and then we return to the waddle stitches. So let's pause and I'll show you the back side. Yes, the back side looks nothing like the front. I understand that. But you can see the 4 stitches, 4 back post doubles, half double, and then 4 back post doubles, and we've done that on both sides. Let's flip to the front, and you'll see how this is starting to change. Now the one thing that you might want to do is to add a stitch marker to this side going forward, because the next row is going to have us working the 4-post cable. It's real easy to just start crocheting this and forget to, as this comes underneath, it's easy to just forget that you're working a 4-post cable there. So if you want to get a stitch marker, I'll go ahead and just put one on just to demonstrate. Go ahead and put one there. And I can remove it as soon as I get to that place next time. But that's just a reminder that I need to do something different here. Okay, so go ahead and work, complete row 25, and then I will show you how to start row 26. So now for row 26, I am to the point of crossing the cables, and again for clarity, row 26 begins by working 2 front post double crochets, then back post. All right, so we know that the cable that's crossing the 4-post cable is crossing over, so it's going to be the second part of this. So for this row, we're going to work 4 front post double crochets, a half double into the top of that half double, and now we're going to cross the 4-post cable. Skip the next 2 stitches, front post treble crochet in the next 2 stitches. Working in front of those last 2 stitches, we're going to front post treble in the 2 stitches that were skipped. One here and one here. Let's go ahead. Now I have my stitch marker to remind me that I'm going to do something different once I get to this next column. I'm going to go ahead and remove that stitch marker because it has done its job, just to kind of like tying a string around your finger from the old days, just to help you remember something. So we removed that, and that was to remind us that we're going to continue with the 4-post cable. So we have, let's identify these 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to skip the first 2, and we're going to front post treble in the next 2 stitches. working in front of those 2 stitches, we're going to front post treble in the 2 stitches that we just skipped. Half double in the next half double, and then front post double crochet in the next 4 stitches. Okay, so go ahead and finish out row 26 and then begin row 27, which will begin with 2 front post double crochets, because you'll be changing the basket weave for the row that follows 26. Now for row 27, I've gone ahead and worked the basket weave starting with front post double crochets and then the back post double crochets, the 3 waddle stitches, and I'm just going to work this again for you. We're going to work 4 back post double crochets, a half double worked into the half double, and again, just to demonstrate it for you, working behind where the 4 post cable was crossed on the other side, 4 more back post double crochets. And again, those 2 waddle stitches in between the 2 elongated cables with the twist. And now working over the other cable again. Let me go ahead and turn so that you see what I'm doing. Working on the back side of this where you have the 4 post cable. And again, just work those back post double crochets straight across as you see the little V's at the top of these stitches appear. That's just a really good guide to knowing which one comes next as you just work straight across. Half double in that next half double, and then 4 more back post double crochets. Okay, and then we'll finish out with the 3 waddle stitches and then the basket weave, and again with the front post, 2 front posts, 2 back posts, etc. So now going forward, so this would be for rows 28, 29, 30, and 31, 32, and 33. We're going to repeat the last 2 rows that we worked. That would be rows 26 and 27. Pay particular attention, though, to what is happening to the basket weave, because that might be slightly different if you watch an exact repeat. It might vary a little bit, so do be mindful of that. That again, these are going to change direction every 2 rows as far as the weave is concerned. It's just going to be a matter of elongating these cables, although they're going to look a little different because the twisted cable is going to be on the inside as this cable elongates. So this is what you should have after completing 33 rows. Okay, now for row 34, it's time to cross these large cables again. So I'm going to go ahead and work the stitches starting with 2 front posts, then 2 back posts, etc. in those 3 waddle stitches, and I'll show you how to cross these cables one more time. So after working those preliminary stitches, we get to the cable crossing. So we're going to skip the next 4 stitches. We're going to work a double crochet into the top loops of that half double, So as we cross this cable, this column is going to cross on top. So we do not have to worry about crossing these four post cable at the moment. All right, so let's go ahead and just work front post trebles, just one after the other, not crossing them. Or at least not crossing them as a 4-post cable on this side. And then working in front of those last 5 stitches, we're going to come all the way over here and work front post trebles in the 4 stitches that we just skipped. All right, now let's work those 2 waddle stitches, and I'll show you how to cross the next elongated cable because it's going to be a little different. Okay, so now for the next one, this column with the 4-post cables is going to cross on top. So we're going to want to be crossing the 4-post cable as we cross over this other column. So let's go ahead and skip those first 4 stitches. A double crochet works into the top of that half double. 4 front post treble crochets. Okay, now working in front of those last 5 stitches, we're going to cross this 4-post cable as we cross the large elongated cable. So we skip the next 2 stitches, front post treble, and the next 2. And then working in front of those 2 stitches, we're going to front post treble in this stitch and in this stitch. These are the 2 that we skipped, really skipped twice in this particular cable. All right, let's go ahead and work our next waddle stitch so we can pause and take a look at this. Okay, so we have crossed both of these cables. Now again, I'm going to go ahead and get my trusty stitch marker, and I'm going to put it right over here on this side. I'm just going to put it in the waddle stitch. So just as a reminder that when I come to this part of the cable in 2 rows, that I need to remember to cross the cables like the 4-post cable. It's so easy to forget that, trust me. So now what we're going to do is you have all the stitches that you need to know. So to maintain this pattern with this motif. So what I'm going to have you do is I'm going to have you go back, and this is going to be, let's see, 10, 11, 12, row 13. Go back to row 13, and we're going to repeat rows 13 through 34 to establish the pattern. So go ahead and look at across the bottom of the screen, and I'll just show you how many repeats that I will be doing for this particular project, but you can repeat this as much or as few times as you wish to get the size of the scarf that you personally desire. But I'm going to go ahead and just continue to work on this motif, and I will give you updates here and there.
Now that I've completed the elongated cable section with this twisty cable on the outside, then the inside, outside, then on the inside, over these rows, this whole section repeated a total of 9 times. Look across the bottom of the screen and I'll tell you how many rows that will be in total. Let me also show you where we've stopped our work so that we can transition back
to the basket weave. And just to show you just the colors here for a second. Really enjoyed working with this gradient yarn. There you go, and I'll show you all the way. There you go, the very bottom. All right, so let me go ahead and show you how to transition back. Now, if you didn't want to do 9 repeats, obviously you're free to do as many repeats as you like. Okay, so now after completing this last cable, this is again another repeat, but we're only repeating 1 elongated cable and then an additional 3 rows. Okay, another way to look at it is you will have only 1 time the cable crossed on the twisted cables, and then the row that is worked after that with the back side facing. So now we have the front side facing, and I'm going to go ahead and show you how to work the ribbing. So to start the basket weave ribbing, we just continue where we've been. We're going to chain 2, and we're just going to continue this ribbing. So it looks like we're going to do 2 back post double crochets followed by 2 front posts. So I'll go ahead and work these first 10 stitches. Now as we work over the waddle stitches, we're going to skip the double crochet of the waddle stitch. We're going to work 2 double crochets into the chain 1 space of the waddle stitch and a double crochet into the single crochet. So we're basically converting each waddle stitch to 3 double crochets. So that will bring our stitch count back to what we originally had at the very beginning of starting the cabling process. So 2 double crochets in the chain 1 space, 1 in the single crochet, and we'll do 1 more. And you'll work these this way in all of the waddle stitches. Again, 2 double crochets in the chain 1 space and 1 in that single crochet. As we're working over the cabling portion, we're just going to work front post double crochets over the cabled stitches. We're not going to cross anything this row. So we have 4 front post double crochets. Go ahead and work a half double in that half double. Now as we work the row that follows this half double is going to be treated the same as you would a double crochet. And then over the next 4 stitches, just 4 front post double crochets. So just want to be extra clear here. We're not crossing cables on the twisted section. And then again, we get to the waddle stitches, and we're going to skip that double crochet, work 2 double crochets into the chain 1 space, and then 1 into that single crochet. Let's do that again. 2 double crochets into the chain 1 space, and then 1 into the single crochet. So now for the other cable, again, we're just going to work 4 front post double crochets, half double in that half double, and 4 more front post double crochets. And again, we get to those waddle stitches. We work 2 double crochets in each of those chain 1 spaces and 1 in that single crochet of the waddle stitch. So go ahead and complete this. Again, we're working back post, 2 back post, 2 front post, 2 back post, etc. as we get to the basket weave ribbing. And go ahead and finish that row, and I'll show you how to finish the rest. So now for the next 8 rows, we're going to chain 2, and we are going to continue this 2-stitch basket weave ribbing, and which means starting with 2 back post, followed by 2 front posts. And we're going to do this all the way across. So go ahead and do the first 10 stitches, and then I'll show you how to proceed after that. So after working this first 10 stitches, we have 2 back post double crochets. So now we're just going to continue alternating with 2 front post double crochets, followed by 2 back post double crochets. And we're going to alternate this all the way across. 2 front post double crochets, followed by 2 back post double crochets. So go ahead and work that, and I'll show you how it connects into the other side. Once you come to the cables, you just work it in the same way, even though you're not working in double crochets, but you're working in what were front post double crochets. So we have 1, 2 front post double crochets, and then 2 back post double crochets, and then 2 front posts. Let me show you this one, which would be one of those post stitches and the half double crochet. Make that into also a front post, and then 2 back posts, again just working over the cabling section, and then 2 more front post double crochets, and then again half, or rather just 2 more back post, etc. I'm going to go ahead and work over the other cable for you as well, just in case there are any questions about how this is to be done. All right, so we work front post, 2 front post double crochets, and then 2 back post double crochets, and then we come to the half double, which is going to become a front post, and the next cable stitch a front post, and then 2 back post double crochets, and again front post, and then 2 back post, two front post, and again 2 back post, and then 2 more front post. Okay, and that brings us to the last 10 stitches, and it just so happens it worked out. Yay! I love it when the math works in a design. 2 back posts, so this should perfectly dovetail into what we've already been working on the other side. So 2 back posts, 2 front posts, etc. So go ahead and finish out this row. So for the next 7 rows, we are going to continue in the 2 stitch basket weave for the ribbing. So we will work again 2 front posts, 2 back posts, etc. And we're going to alternate that all the way across the row. And every time you have 2 rows worked the same, just like we've been doing all along the edging, then you switch. So go ahead and finish the next 7 rows using that 2 stitch basket weave. And then after that, just fasten off and hide your loose ends. Well, I hope you enjoyed making the Sapphire Soliloguy scarf with me today. If you did, I would love to hear from you. Please feel free to comment in the comment section below. God bless. Bye-bye.